Welcome to our dynamic show. I'm Mariana, your host and guide, here to remind you that flowing through each one of us is a dynamic energy that is ours to use every single day. That's why we emphasize the day in dynamics, because it isn't just a one-time choice, it's a daily commitment to your dynamic well-being. On this podcast, we know there's no one-size-fits-all approach to life. That's why each episode is crafted to help you align with your energy, your ideas, your positive attitude, and evolution on your terms. It's all about exploring what life can truly feel like when you choose what genuinely serves you. I mean, when's the last time you asked yourself, is this serving me? You're here for a reason, so let's uncover it. Are you ready to embrace the most dynamic version of yourself? Let's tune in and let's explore what's possible together. Our discussion recording today will explore the subject of our wealth dynamics. Every month we've been doing our different dynamics. You can check that out on dynamicseries.com under the Dynamics tab with all the different ones that we are offering. And I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by a guest. You've heard her voice before if you've listened to any of our discussions. Makota, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And as always, we have decided to do these dynamics this year anyway, together through the discussion posts. And Makota, if I was to ask you first thoughts on the word wealth, what would you say?
Abundance. That's what I think of.
Okay, abundance of what though?
Of anything. I think of when you're wealthy about something, you have a lot of something, or you feel like you're enriched with something in your life.
Yeah, that's what most people say. Are you ready to discuss it a bit more?
Sounds good.
All right. And so I'd always like to set the tone for our time together because this is more than just a podcast. What we focus on expands. So let's take a moment to center ourselves, be fully present, and listen with an open heart and mind. So to start, let me ask you this, our audience and Makota, given the title of the show, Wealth Dynamics, can you relate? Like, have you found yourself wondering about wealth, how it fits into your life? How did you get your beliefs? Who are you with wealth? What kind of relationship do you have with wealth? Do you feel wealthy? Audience, that question's to you, Makota. How do you feel about it overall?
Well, I think wealth is a very complicated topic, but a very amazing topic. I think every day we are thinking about wealth in some way, about maybe food, about your money, about the friends that you have, about the amount of time that you have in the day. And that can be so easily positive and negative depending on your way of looking at it. And I think most of the time, it's a lot better to look at it positively and to take that second to realize why that can be a positive thing instead of maybe going to irrational thinking and making it a negative topic in your head.
Yeah. And even if it is a negative topic, you can make it a more positive topic by changing how you
Yes.
talk about it to yourself and to other people, right? Yeah. We can
exactly.
always, in any topic that we're talking about here in any of our podcasts, if it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right and it's something that you would call a negative or a non-feel good topic with the verbiage that goes with it, you always have the choice to just slightly change it around to make it more neutral, to make it more balanced, to make it more uplifting.
It's exactly what you should be doing.
So, like Makota answered initially, and we always appreciate her feedback, is that a lot of people think of wealth, as initially maybe money, and I'm just going to go over a few of the styles of wealth. And now when I first started this, when I first thought of wealth, I thought, "Oh, that's the amount of stuff I have or the amount of money I have," like, that's the wealth, and you never think that it's just so much bigger than that. The styles of wealth. All of our dynamics that we're doing can be a style of wealth: family, relationships, mind, financial, emotional, social, time, health, spiritual, intellectual, experimental, environmental, your legacy wealth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
Yeah, and then there's much more. I mean, that's just a few of the ones that come off from just living life and understanding, there's all of that and more as far as wealth. Now, there's so many different words that can be used in place of the word wealth. So let's just go over that real quick. And if you were to say, what's another word for wealth, Makoto, what would be a word that you would say?
Well, like I said earlier, I would say abundance when I think of wealth, kind of in the same example of like your access of stuff or money or anything. It's like it's an abundance of it or an amount of it.
Right. So it could be an amount of good relationships, an amount of friends, an amount of well-being, an amount of health, an amount like
Yeah, it can be a small amount or a big amount or a medium amount. It's just that it's an amount.
yeah. And yeah, and no labels, no judgment. It's just an amount, right? And we'll go over the dictionary definition of it here in a few minutes. But I'll just read off some of the other words that you may be using, and that's affluence. I always think that's such a pretty word, affluence. Like it just like even when looking at it, like affluence.
Would make a great name.
Oh, you can name your first child that. Bounty, plentiful, prosperity, fortune. Like there's this riches, there's just so many things that you can use that are sort of in the same category, yet maybe slightly different, but similar that people can not know where the actual line is, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So like anything, we always try to define it, whether it's on the podcast or one of our blogs. And again, a lot of more information on wealth dynamics can be found on our website, dynamicsseries.com, circle, and then dynamic series. In the middle there is that we looked up again wealth as we usually do by many different ways, and one of them was like the state of being rich, and then it's like, well, what does rich mean? So then rich meaning, well supplied, well endowed. So then you go, well, what does that mean? So this could go on and on and on to really get a clear picture of what you may think, depending on which word that you use around this. So let's just go with well supplied. You have a well supply of maybe a family, of thoughts, of creativity, of money, of emotions, of health, of intellect, of environmental, of legacy, wealth that you want to leave. What are you thinking about all these different definitions, Makota?
Well, when I think of well supplied, I think that you have like a big selection of something almost like you have a good supply. Like I think of food, when you have a good supply of food, it's like different varieties or different brands. And so it's like you get to kind of have a lot of something and maybe different varieties of it. So when you think about wealth as a whole, being well supplied in wealth could mean that, like you mentioned before, you are wealthy in very different areas of your life.
Yes. And yeah, good point. And different categories. Now, one of the things that we did in one of the vehicle videos on YouTube, it's under multimedia on our website. And we're going to play the same game that I recorded for this month of wealth, and that is the blank check game. If you haven't listened to it, again, please go listen. But the gist of it is if the universe says, here's a blank check, because of who you are, not because you deserve it, not because of this, not because of whatever, just because you are you and you're beautiful and magnificent and unique. So, Makota, what amount would you put on that blank check?
I don't even think I know, really. I mean, the thing is that when that opportunity comes to you, you might think, "Oh, well, you want a trillion or quadrillion dollars," and it's also like, well, maybe I only want like a few thousand, it's what do you really use all that money for, or is money the only type of wealth that you actually want on a check?
Right. And this is a dilemma of where you're finding your balance around wealth because I put it out on social media as well. And one of the followers said, I want 3 million because, and I have permission to use this, by the way. I want 1 million for myself, I want 1 million for my parents, and I want 1 million for my sister. What they do with it is up to them. And then in further discussion later offline was more like, well, I want this because I can also help my friends in different ways, not just by giving them money, but just being a wealth for them. I can offer free courses about my specific career, which then is sharing my wealth. Like, so they just went on and on about the different types of wealth and what they would do, starting with the money, because again, we're talking only specific in this case about the blank check. It's a one-time thing, although one other person did comment and says, well, if they're giving me a check once, then they can give me another check too. So,
Yeah.
but at this point, it's just like, what number are you comfortable with? What number would it be? I suggest maybe you go listen to that, and or even from this conversation that Makota and I are having is like, what would be that number? I guess it may depend on where you are in your life, right?
Yeah.
If you're young and you're just starting out, could be higher, could be lower. What would be that blank check number? And then what would you want to do with it? Or maybe that's a thing, you figure out what you would want to do with everything that you want to do in your life and then put an
And
amount on that. But here's the thing that I didn't say on the YouTube clip was you only have 24 hours to decide. So, you'd be thinking a lot. And then once you do it and once you receive it, then you're like, "Oh, maybe I should have, maybe I could have." Like so what
Yes.
amount is too little? What amount is too much? And like where is your comfort zone around wealth? And again, not only the wealth, physical assets, money, bank stuff, money you might have in your wallet right now, Bitcoin, or but about the other wealths in your life, the health and the spiritual and the intellectual and the family and the mind and the relationships, like they're all those wealths. So how would that affect everything as well?
Right. There's so much to think about.
Yeah. So that's the thing about us doing these dynamics and offering as a resource is because we want to have you think to find your balance and then allow the evolution of it to unfold as well. Just because you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm good with it right now," you might have another thought that will then make it evolve even more. That's why wealth is such, what did you call it at the beginning? Complicated or challenging or something like that. It can, there can be so many.
Moving parts to it almost. Yeah. There's so many parts of your life that can be wealthy and that can be abundant and have a well supply that it's not just an easy concept, I don't think.
No. And here's the other thing that I always revert back to in all of these dynamics. Do you yourself feel wealthy? Not from something outside of yourself, like the money or the assets or the friends or the family or the emotion. Like, do you feel like you are a wealthy person without thinking of outside of just you? Like the very fact that you were born, and if you think about it, given all the ideas and talents and this and that that you have as you were born into the circumstances that you were born into, is that enough to say, "Hey, I'm wealthy"?
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about too, especially if you're wanting to compare it with other people or what you're born into is already so wealthy. The fact that you were born and the fact that you're on this planet experiencing life could be seen as a wealthy experience. It's a pretty complicated topic for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's make it I think right now we're making it more
Yeah, pretty
uncomplicated
uncomplicated.
by just giving, things for people to think about, right?
Right.
What do you think would be a good tool to help someone out there to make themselves feel overall more wealthy? You know, because I truly believe that coming into this physical experience, I read this thing the other day, and I know it sounds interesting for some and a little off for other people, but it's just like you come in with nothing and you leave with nothing. What you do in that space in between is so important. How do you want to see yourself? So what would you say is a good tool to have that overall view of someone that may think, "Okay, well, I'm not enough. I don't have enough. My gifts aren't enough. My health isn't enough. I'm not wealthy." In all these areas that we've already gone over, how would you help them with a statement or a knowing affirmation or something that may just help them switch it around?
Well, think about it. In the time that it took you to say that you're not enough or that you're not doing enough, that past, that's already gone. That past that you just said that in. So every single moment that continues that can be better than what you thought it could be. So if you might think at that moment, well, I'm not good enough. Well, you just said it, and that was a past you from 10 seconds ago that maybe wasn't good enough in your mind, but now you're a different person. Now you're evolving and you're changing every single moment of the day. And so you can have that moment, say, hey, I'm not good enough, and then say, well, that was past me, and future me right now that realizes that I can be is going to do more and do better. And to realize that every moment is an opportunity to get more wealth and whatever wealth that could be, and that everyone is more wealthy than they really realize that they are in so many different ways just by being alive and being able to know that there is more that they can do.
That you brought up some good points, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But even the fact that even saying I am wealthy and then see what the universe brings to you, or I'm open to wealth.
Right.
Do all of those little things too that will help as a tool towards just knowing your value, because value is not always based around money and assets. Value is valuing who you are and knowing that you are so wealthy just by being you, your energy, your aura, your thoughts, your beliefs, your talents, your DNA, like just the very fact that you have all of that and you are wealthy. So I think I would add on to what Makota said and just say to yourself is I've never seen myself maybe as wealthy, but you know what? I am wealthy. I am wealth. First, clarify the definition and what words you want to use around the word wealth first, just to make sure you're comfortable with it. When I'm questioning, I always go and try to clarify that to make it easier. And I would just say, hey, I'm open for the universe to show me how wealthy I actually am in so many areas of my life, all for my highest good and highest bliss.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a morning and a night affirmation to say.
Yeah.
It's a good way. I know you guys all have your own mantras. We have a few of them for wealth as well. So, my wealthy audience, listeners, and friends, what resonated with you most in today's episode? Take a moment to reflect and then decide what your next step is going to be. We challenge you right now, though, to take some action and share this episode with someone who needs it. I have this really cool thing that I do with one of my friends is that we send back and forth clips to each other, and then we voice talk about it and really get to the deep level of where our balance is. So I challenge you to do that as well, or any of our past recordings. And you can also subscribe to all of our future ones as well. Podcasts and recordings, again, is under dynamicshow.info, or you can also find it on dynamicseries.com. Quick reminder, all materials shared on this show are copyrighted and meant for informational purposes only. Makoto, is there any last-minute words of wisdom around this?
Well, I think that everyone is wealthy in their own way, and just by listening to this podcast, you've learned new ways to be wealthy.
Yes. As always, Makoto, thank you for sharing your time, your intuitive guidance, the wealth of knowledge that you have from your own life experience, and just spending time with us here. We so appreciate you. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. And if you have listened this far, then we invite you to enter our contest. Go to dynamicseries.com under connect and then the contact form, and write in the subject line Wealth Dynamics Podcast, and your name will be entered in for a $10 Starbucks gift card. Winners will be announced on our podcast part of our website. So here's to your wealth. And make it a dynamic day.
Make it a dynamic day.